Did you refer to immigration enforcement as domestic terrorism?
You should answer my question.
Yes.
You're on my time, but you won't.
A simple question in a government hearing triggers a tense showdown over honesty, accountability, and power.
I want to talk with you about an issue on which there is broad bipartisan agreement: the importance of ensuring trust between the American public and those government officials who wield powerful law enforcement responsibilities. So, Attorney General, would you agree that it is important for law enforcement leaders to be honest?
Of course, as well as members of Congress.
Thank you. And would you include yourself as a law enforcement leader?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You know, President Trump has also, he has referred to himself as the chief law enforcement officer of this country. So do you believe that President Trump is honest?
He is the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, and
that
not only
President
is he
Trump
keeping
honest?
this country safe,
Do you
he
believe
is keeping this
honest?
world
It's
safe.
a simple question
Of
which
course
you didn't
I do.
answer.
He is
Okay,
the
thank you.
commander-in-chief.
Last June, Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and their dog were brutally murdered in their home. And your USA's office in Minnesota investigated this crime and obtained a 6-count indictment of the murder suspect, stating that he had intent to kill, injure, harass, and intimidate Minnesota legislators. And I have the copy right here. I read through it. Yet a few weeks ago, President Trump suggested publicly that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was behind these murders, posting on his Truth Social account a video raising this conspiracy theory. And it wasn't true. And you know it wasn't true, or else you would not have brought an indictment against the subject. Do you know what else Trump has said? He has said he has cut gas prices by 1,400%. False. That he won the 2020 election.
Actually,
False.
gas is down to $1.99 a gallon, thanks to
that
President
he didn't
Trump.
know Epstein.
Maybe
False.
$5 in
That he
California.
It's my time, Mr. Chair. That he sent water to LA during the wildfires. False. That Governor Westmore of Maryland called him the greatest president of his lifetime. False. So many tales, too many to keep up. But I want to go back to what he said about Tim Walz. Do you agree that President Trump undermined public trust in law enforcement by suggesting that Governor Walz was involved in the Hortman murders?
I am not familiar with that statement.
Well, that is a disappointing response, and it is also why your office and Donald Trump have zero credibility, because I know, and you know, it was a right-wing extremist who murdered the Hortmans. And you and the president are being dishonest with the American people. Last fall, after the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk, President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. And his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with this statement? You're taking too long, Madam Attorney General. But you know the answer, because your own department has addressed the question. In 24, the DOJ's research arm issued a report on domestic terrorism, stating that the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violence extremists. The DOJ published the report, and after the president made those comments, the DOJ took the report down. And I sent you a letter asking you a simple question. Why did the Justice Department remove the data that shows right-wing extremists have killed more innocent people than left-wing extremists?
Did you refer to immigration enforcement as domestic terrorism?
You should answer my question.
Yes.
You're on my time, but you won't. And what I am asking you to do is put the report back. Restore the data. Stop scrubbing important data from your website. Stop taking down reports that you know the American people need to know about. There are violent, dangerous people out here with real threats, and the dishonesty from your agency comes from the covering up of these threats that could hurt American people and put our lives at rest. Do better. And with that, I yield back, Mr.
The lady yields back. The gentleman.
At the center of this moment is a very simple idea. If people in power, especially those connected to law enforcement, are not seen as truthful, the entire system starts to lose credibility. That's where the questioning begins. The line of questioning wasn't random or emotional. It was structured to establish a baseline. First, agreement that honesty matters. Then, agreement that law enforcement leaders must uphold that honesty. And finally, applying that same standard to the highest levels of leadership. What makes this exchange significant is how quickly it shifts from principle to real-world consequences. The conversation moves from a general idea, honesty, to specific claims and public statements. And that's where things become more serious. When public figures make statements that are disputed or unverified, especially about sensitive issues like violent crimes or elections, it doesn't just stay in the realm of politics, it affects how people understand reality. One key issue raised here is the impact of misinformation or disputed claims on public trust. When a claim is made about a serious crime, particularly one involving public officials, it can shape public perception instantly. Even if that claim is later challenged or disproven, the initial damage can linger. That's the underlying concern being highlighted, whether statements made at the highest levels can unintentionally or intentionally undermine confidence in investigations and institutions. Another important layer here is the discussion around extremism and data transparency. The mention of a removed or altered report introduces a different kind of concern, not just what is being said publicly, but what information is being made available or withheld. Data from government agencies plays a major role in shaping policy decisions and public understanding. When that data disappears or is questioned, it raises concerns about transparency and accountability.